We learned today that Ken Buck, the Republican from Colorado, he said he's departing Congress in a week. This is a statement we saw earlier today from Ken Buck saying, "It has been an honor to serve the people of Colorado's 4th District in Congress for the past 9 years. I want to thank them for their support and encouragement throughout the years. Today, I'm announcing that I will depart Congress at the end of I look forward to spending more time in Colorado and with my family." So that was information we were learning today from Ken Buck. Maybe not necessarily if he was not seeking re-election, but now we're learning that he's not going to return to Congress following next week, departing Congress. We're going to be joined right now here by Colorado political analyst Kelly Maher. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And of course, this news, not necessarily new that he's not going to be returning to Congress, but just the timeline of it so quick. Maybe what was your initial reaction, and do we know any indication why the timeline was so fast?
Well, it's really interesting, Andy. You might be aware of the fact that this is the district that current Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is actually going to be running for as well. So she said after that she was going to be switching districts. She's going to be switching from the Western Slope to the Eastern Plains. She said she's moving so that she can run for this congressional seat. And it's going to be really fascinating because what this triggers in Colorado is a special election. And you can't occupy 2 congressional seats at the same time if you're Lauren Boebert. And so the governor is the one who calls a special election. And he has already said that the election is in fact going to be the same day as primary day, June 25th, here in Colorado. And so the clerks were already meeting with our Secretary of State this morning in order to try to figure out how we can have a special election ballot and a primary ballot going out the same day to many of the same voters.
That is a very interesting component to this and potentially amongst the timeline. And of course, Buck also a longtime critic of his own party, not necessarily great standing within the GOP side. Do you think maybe that had anything to do with both his decision to not seek re-election, but also to leave so early?
Well, I mean, look, what is happening in the House right now is making national news, and this is going to make it very, very tight, right? It is unlikely and very difficult to put Lauren Boebert in a situation where she's going to stand for special election. And so then we have the entire rest of the slate of candidates who are running in that primary, who are going to be vying for that, who then are going to essentially be conferred the status of the Republican nominee in the special election on the same day as the primary election. So it becomes really confusing and fairly difficult to figure out what to do, especially when you're looking at a Congress where the votes are going to be so tight.
Yeah, so very tight. And of course, also he's going to kind of remain there until the 22nd. That's also a date for a potential shutdown. So also these timelines kind of overlapping very, very closely. But you mentioned just the slim majority that the GOP has in the House as well. How much of a detriment is that to just the GOP's in general to potentially as they try to move their initiatives forward on the House? They have even a less margin for error there, less margin for GOP to side on the other side.
Well, I mean, once this special election once the seat is filled, right, then the seat comes back with whomever occupies it. And there are several people who are vying on the primary side who then are likely going to be advocating for themselves with the delegates of the CD4 to stand for special election. So it's entirely possible that the voters of CD4 will fill that seat, somebody will be in Congress, and then unclear if that same person then is going to be the congressperson that is going to be the Republican nominee, and likely, because it's a safe Republican seat, the congressperson from the 4th come November.
That is very interesting. It could be like a 2-seat swing there, depending on the outcome of this as well. Have we heard potentially what his plans are after leaving Congress? And of course, now those are sped up. Have we heard anything that what he plans to do following not being a lawmaker anymore?
I've heard that Ken is doing a lot of TV, and he's obviously doing a lot of media hits and he's commentator. And I've known him for years and years and years, and he's always had really strong opinions. And clearly, he's playing those out like as far as they will go. And he is now looking at kind of the knife fight in a phone booth to replace him. And, whether or not he's just like, I'm out, or whether or not he's saying, hey, I think that the Republican Party of CD4 needs to be able to have additional weight to share their influence and who their choice is on this ballot. Unclear, but he's an opinionated and articulate guy who's got a lot of things to still say, I think.
That is very true. I don't know if Ken Buck is going away. He might not be in Congress, but he might not be going away either. My last question for you, because obviously we talked about the fact that he doesn't have great standing there within the GOP. He was one of just a handful of lawmakers that did not vote to necessarily impeach Mayorkas. That was a big kind of selling point for the GOP, a big kind of move for them as well. Just talking about Colorado, maybe how is Ken Buck viewed in Colorado along those lines? Because Colorado, it was very much a battleground state, maybe not as much as it's been in the past, but how do people in Colorado view Ken Buck just along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, it is not the battleground that it used to be. I've worked in Republican Party politics in Colorado for over 20 years and kind of like watched the arc of the decline. But Ken Buck originally came in and was a Senate nominee from the Republican side during the Tea Party. And he was considered at the time to be one of the most far right. He was in a primary with a woman who was a former lieutenant governor. Her name was Jane Norton, and he was considered to be kind of the more right of the nominees. And then he got the Republican nomination and didn't succeed in getting that, but then ran for Congress and succeeded in CD4. But ultimately the face of the Republican Party right now is so different in Colorado than it has been in the past, that it's kind of a question of where people are. It used to be Colorado was always classically like a third Democrat, a third Republican, and a third unaffiliated. It is now very much taken over by unaffiliateds that mostly vote like Democrats. And then the next biggest voting bloc is Democrats. And then the smallest voting bloc is Republican.
It is wild to see Colorado kind of go the trajectory it has over the last couple decades there as well. All right, Kelly Maher, thank you so much for joining us. Some big news there from Ken Buck today. We appreciate you breaking it all down with us.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks so much.